Hey guys, welcome to Life Beyond Wheels podcast, where we talk about anything from being in a wheelchair to different kinds of foods and anything in between. We'll start with Jason. Jason, what was the most memorable part about the wheelchair challenge for you?
Most memorable part, probably painful arm would be memorable. Working those muscles a bunch. I think the whole idea of like having to squeeze through areas and the social awkwardness involved in that. Just kind of like having to make it through aisles and get through, especially that one place that didn't have you had to, I don't know, like a beanpole to like walk through it and just covered in stuff. We couldn't really like wheel around, and so I think that comes to mind is the whole like, excuse me, I gotta get through here. Like I gotta move up. Let me get through this tight space. Like that whole thing.
Yeah. Who would be next? I think Zach will be next after you, Jason. At least in my list, I'm going from what I see on my screen, so I think Zach will be next.
Just thinking back on it, one of the most memorable things, besides how completely empty the mall was because of COVID, there's no one, mostly just you in the mall wheeling around. I remember having a lot of fun in the mall, so I can go fast. It's kind of cool. But as soon as we went outside on the sidewalk, we had to go up and down inclines or everything like that. Okay, this is no longer fun. I want to go out now.
Yeah,
So I remember just a change from the ideal setting possible to real world situations.
So Rob, you would go next then, because what I'm seeing is Jason, Zach, Rob, Mark, and then Sean. So
sounds good.
Rob, you're up.
Yeah, so I would say the most memorable part for me was I was very concerned with how I was while I was in the chair. So I always wanted to have kind of like a smile on my face, looking at other people. Like just because I know your experiences have been like people often look at you longer. So I was like, okay, I want to be intentional and like make eye contact, smile, like that sort of thing. And then also kind of the other memorable thing with Jason was just like just getting in tight spaces was super difficult. If I remember, I think we had the elevator in the mall wasn't working as well. And so it was like we just stayed on the first floor. If we wanted to go up to the second floor and go to a store or whatnot, we wouldn't have been able to. So
yeah.
I've said those were the most memorable things.
That would leave you, Mark. You got the next one.
All right. Yeah. Most memorable thing. Two things I remember thinking. One was it was fun. But if I had to do that all the time, how much suffering that would be and how much that would suck. So it really helped me to be able to put myself in the shoes of someone that had to do that a lot. And then second, I think Rob already mentioned this, but like the awkward looks you get, and there was also a lot of kind people that came up to us ready to interact, but there was also people that just like either tried to dodge it, and that maybe they just didn't know what to do in the situation. But yeah, I definitely noticed that.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Gosh, I feel like you and I got almost a different wheelchair challenge just because you let me change the location. Just hearing bits and pieces of everybody else's stories. But I remember, so we decided to go to a local hobby store, and they rolled out the red carpet for us. The second we showed up at the door, like there were not only the employees at the hobby store, but there were multiple people who play there that like almost were too attentive, and then there were some that didn't even acknowledge our existence, just turned around, went right back to whatever game or thing that they were doing previously. So it was interesting to see that dynamic of almost hyper attentive people, to the point I could see where that could even be a bit annoying, because they weren't there was nobody in that room that gave us the normal amount of attention. Like it was either they were hyper attentive or they were dismissive, and there was very little in between. Until some people warmed up to us as we like tried out some of the games in the store. That was when we started, I feel like, finally being treated a little bit more normally. So that was memorable for me. Just the whole, like, when we showed up on the scene, how we were treated initially, and how that didn't really change for pretty much anybody unless they interacted with us more.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing I liked about it is that you guys got to see what the whole situation I go through a lot is, what I do every time I go out in public, and what has to happen, and what people do to me a lot. It varies. It varies from what situation it is. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people are aggressive, and a lot of people they want to help you. It all depends. So. And
Yes, I saw that. I saw that as like the biggest takeaway for me, because it was like, this is a hassle. It's fun for a day, but I don't have to do it every day. And it's really something to think about.
For sure.
Yep. My phone's dead, so if someone else can read off the questions, it'll be much easier. If you can.
Yeah.
I've got the questions up. I'd be happy to read it.
Sure.
Okay, were you going to read, Jason? Sorry. I feel like I'm getting some feedback or something.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep talking over you guys.
Good, man. Go ahead.
So, Jason, what was the hardest part about the wheelchair challenge? Gosh, I can't talk today.
Neither can I.
Hardest part about the challenge.
Yeah. Also, yeah, we all we had similar experiences, right? So for me, I'm very like, I want to feel out situations and stuff like that, just kind of, I guess, socially conscious. And so just the awkwardness of like, I'm here and what I'm reading off of people is like, is that I'm a burden. Just being there, rolling around and stuff like that, just kind of like something that's like an imposition on people. And so I think just the socialness of it was probably the hardest part. It's like the social, feeling of being kind of in the way, or just being like an awkwardness causer. It's like I'm going there, and it's like suddenly like everyone's and I've got to do something to react to me. So to be in that situation all the time would just be really grating and kind of draining. To just like to kind of have that social, I don't know, stigma or whatever. It's kind of always there. So I think that was it for me.
Zach, you're up. What was the hardest part? Are you muted, Zach?
Sorry, I was on mute. What was the question again?
What was the hardest part about the wheelchair challenge?
Hardest part about it? All right. Yeah, I'd say we went to when we were in the mall. I think I was a bit self-conscious at first. Actually, handicapped, so I thought people would look playing around in a wheelchair. But definitely, I think if it was something I did every day, I could notice sort of like more self-conscious about like, what do people think of me? People stare at me, and most of the times I'm sure they're just staring at me because it's not the average of just walking around, so you just kind of stare at like a bit different, and with no any malice or any kind of intentions, just sort of like you stare at anything that just kind of captures your attention. But knowing me, that was I deal with that every day. That'd be the most difficult part.
Yeah. That means. Yep.
Yes. Go ahead, haircut. Sorry.
I was gonna say it was you, Rob. So.
Okay. So yeah, I would definitely say the hardest part. There was a specific store that we went into. The person that was working in it was kind of like this fantasy store, and I would say the first part when you walked in was pretty open. There were tables around with statues and paintings and pictures and whatnot on them. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna navigate to the back here and just look around. Essentially, the person that was working in the store was very attentive, like was almost practically just following me around. I believe you guys kind of stayed more in the central location where it was easier, but I went off on one of those like aisles that there was just pictures on either side that were leaned up against shelves, and it was real tight. And I remember I knocked over a few of those paintings on my way through. And so like just navigating those hard spots, like this person in the store probably hadn't even considered like, oh, this is a tight space. It is difficult for some people to get to this part of my store. And the layout probably wasn't the most handicap accessible. So I that was probably the hardest part was just like my own anxiety from knocking over these guys' paintings and like I'm not gonna buy anything right now, but I just wanted to look around. And so I don't know, that was kind of like the hardest part um, of the challenge.
Yeah. You got in a hard spot there, though. I was kind of worried you might hit something when you did. So.
Yeah, oh, I did.
Mark, you're up.
All right. So maybe similar to what's already been said, but probably if I had to deal with that all the time, it'd be the vulnerability aspect of it. I mean, shoot, I already struggle with that myself sometimes, being vulnerable and opening up, and to have to go around and potentially be dependent all the time, like where Rob got stuck in that spot. What if you ended up having to ask for help and somebody help you out, and that can be intimidating sometimes to always have to be in that vulnerable situation. Like, I mean, as a guy, I already don't feel that as much as my wife because, like, I got, sometimes guys can just go around and feel safer, and it's a whole nother level when you have to be stuck in a wheelchair or some other kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say that would be the toughest part for me.
So I'm racking my brain, Caleb, and trying to remember the challenge. I think for me, something that was really difficult was not so much once we were there. That was actually pretty easy for me, relatively speaking. But I think getting into the chair and getting out of the chair, I don't know if that was part of the challenge normally, but I remember talking with you and I asked if I could like see what that was like how hard it is to get into a chair without any leg strength, how hard it is to get out of the chair and put the chair into the car without leg strength. And I remember you saying that you're like, Sean, you don't have to do all that. And I was like, no, like I want the full experience, like so that I can say like I not to sound all holier than thou or be like, oh, you got other guys didn't really do the challenge, like, but that wasn't the purpose. Just I wanted to see for myself, like, okay, like what's the whole experience. And I think kind of going off of what you were saying, Mark, is that like it's really, really inconvenient. I think getting into and out of the chair is like such a chore. It was really, really difficult to do it without like scraping myself up on the asphalt. I can't imagine how many scrapes that you have, Caleb. I mean, I've seen the way that you sometimes like go into your house and such, and it just blows my mind. That's like normal for you, just to.
Yeah. The other day I saw him trim a bunch of trees, as impressive. I don't know if I could do that with the legs struggling. Yeah.
Sean, what was the next question?
Sure. Number 3. Did it affect your relationship with people in public? And if so, how?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, for one kill, I think if you mute yourself when you're not talking, I think that echo might go away. Perhaps. Check. Oh, it's still going down. Well, maybe not. I'm still seeing it on your thing. Can you mute yourself? Can you actually like mute your video when you do that? And I think you might. There you go. Yeah. All right, cool, man. So what? Let's see. What was Did it affect your relationship with people in public? Yes. Hard. Yes. So how? So, oh, I mean, like I was saying before, it's just, like, I mean, you normally can just walk by somebody, like you're in the mall and you walk by the person in the mall, and like that's normal. You don't remember it, but then you're like in the wheelchair. It's just like it's like a situation. It's like, all right, now, like, how are they gonna get around me? Oh, they're gonna go the other aisle now. Or yeah, and then like there's always like whether someone is like sympathetic or like they're like want to help or irritated or whatever happens, like you're gonna get a response from people because now they have to like do something with the different situation that they're not used to, I guess. And so yeah, so I think and like I said, that's probably the biggest one, biggest thing for me was that the social aspect, just like the kind of low level anxiety around like, all right, I got to get here. These people have to recognize me and do something and get out of the way and or whatever the situation required. So yeah, that'd do it for me. So Zachary, I think.
Did it affect my relationship with people in public? To be honest, I was only in there. We only did it for about 2 hours. I didn't see any real that I could really, or to be honest, so there wasn't any big way it affects my relationship with people in public. I came into it trying to be very confident, and usually, I'm normally just like I try to an introvert, but when I got in the wheelchair, I was very nervous about being made up for that with a boot full of confidence, and I was a bit more open and just talking or all that I normally wouldn't be. I normally just avoid them, so that was the only change I saw.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that this was different. Like while I was in the chair, it did affect my relationship with people, particularly how they served us. So like when we went into a store, typically you get the, oh, hey, can I help you find anything? Oh, no, thank you. I'm good. But this time it was, oh, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm just looking around. They would still kind of stay close by, which I'm not sure, like, if I was in your position, Caleb, like, I I would probably swing. Sometimes that's got to be really, really annoying, and other times it's probably really helpful. I recall one of my students at the time that I took the challenge was in a wheelchair, um, and he had a person who would go with him from class to class to class just to assist in getting around the school. And if something falls, he's there to help him out. Or if there's a fire drill, like he is there to get him out of the building. And I never really thought about how that would um, how that would affect his relationship with his peers if he constantly has this adult who's constantly with him in school. Um, and so it definitely made me aware that the relationship that we have with people in public are going to be different while we're in the chair. And I would definitely say that it was different than if I was just walking around. Send it over to you, Mark.
All right. I always forget my place in it. So, all right, thanks. I think probably I would just say Jason summed it up for me. Like it's you're never not a big deal when you go to the mall, right, Caleb? Like you always either they're gonna have to be more noticing of you or just try to avoid you, but it's always like they have to recognize you. Whereas like a lot of people can just go to the mall, throw their hoodie up, and try to blend in, and if they want to have no interactions with people. But when you do the whole when you're in a wheelchair, you can't not be a big deal.
That's very true. That happens a lot. Yeah, you can't hide yourself from people, really. You're out there in the public.
So, what little I'm remembering, so we kind of had a two-part thing, didn't we, Caleb? We also wheeled over to, it was like a pizza joint, right? Nearby, do you remember?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I thought so. So it was interesting, like how the different, oh, I'm getting that feedback, by the way, Caleb. Fixed it. Yeah, so just, it was interesting because I felt that the staff was overly attentive, as I said earlier, I think in question number 1, but they weren't really trying to sell us, if that makes sense. It was weird, like the hovering, but they weren't like really, I mean, when you go to most game stores, there's usually somebody there that's like skilled in like, let me get this person interested in like this game. And that wasn't really happening. Like they gave us like the free, demo kind of stuff, or actually I brought some of my own games as well. And like, they just kind of, they were hovering, but there wasn't that pressure to purchase. It's almost like they felt sorry for us. I felt that also at the, I don't know. It was just, I can't really put my finger on what was different at the restaurant, even the pizza place. I wonder, I guess this is an open question for you, Caleb, because I didn't really get to experience, but a tiny bit of this. What's different when it comes to restaurants? I know everybody else here did the wheelchair challenge at the mall, but like what's different when it comes to like places where you eat?
Well, Zach he did go to a restaurant, but yes, the thing different for a lot of it is they'll ask you if you need a chair removed or if you're going to transfer into the chair and where you want your wheelchair. If you're going to move your wheelchair out of the way, where do you want it or what are you going to do? They want to know how do you want us to accommodate how you are sitting at this table. So, yeah. What's the next question for the list?
Sure. All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I just was unmuting. I was gonna say something, but when he moved it on to the next question,
Oh, Mark, you go ahead and say it.
Oh, I was gonna say that seems like good stuff in the restaurant because, I mean, even though obviously it's annoying that you have to deal with that, it'd be better than them ignoring you. Like that sounds like pretty good stuff that they actually try to accommodate and move your chair for you and stuff like that.
Yes, but it's kind of gives it an awkward situation there too.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's kind of a good but not so good, I'm sure. And I'm sure that gets tiresome after time. Like, yeah, they're gonna ask me if they want to, move the chairs or if they want to help me sit there. So number 4, if you could change one thing for handicapped people, what would you change, Jason Wallace?
I'll answer that. But first, so haircut. So we're talking about this kind of like, this kind of awkwardness or like low level insecurity, just anxiety around like that just kind of happened for all of us. Like when we're in this public situation, like for you, does that go away? Like, have you just gotten used to it, or is it always there when you go into a public place?
It's mostly gone away a little bit when I'm in a new place, like a place I haven't been before. Then it comes back a little bit more, but usually it's not there. So yeah, most of it's gone.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So what would I change? Yeah, so I'm waving a magic wand, and people just uh, like like the whole the handicap situation wouldn't be a new thing for everybody, like as if they have experience and know how. Because that whole like I'm always a situation kind of thing. Like if everyone, so this is not the wish, but if everyone was like, um, if everyone was raised just around people in wheelchairs, then and then it's just like, okay, you're coming here, it's no big deal. Like here's this. I know you'll need this, but or when to not say anything or when to move, and just like it wouldn't be a big deal if everyone just was like that. And so I think so much of the awkwardness is that it is kind of rare for people to experience, and so there's just that's like the added kind of like yeah, I'm here, what are you doing? And so I think I'd wave the wand and like just everyone would be chill, and so you could just go somewhere and just be chill and like it not to be a big thing. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Zach.
If I could sort of change anything, I guess the smart aleck was, there wouldn't be anywhere handicaps. If you couldn't walk, you could walk. If you had trouble eyesight, you could see. I'd say it'd just be what's available and the resources out there right now, because I mean, the different challenges different people with different handicaps face. I mean, there's not a lot out there, and a lot of the work that's being done things are either college projects where it never gets actually put into practice, or they're absorbently expensive where only the wealthy or the not people have access to it. So I'd say a lot of these new solutions and just more affordable ways for sort of capitalize on these new things coming out, all different accessibilities and things like that.
So my answer is very similar to Jason's, in that people would have the foreknowledge of how to handle themselves when they see someone in a wheelchair. So obviously still treat them with like the same courtesy that you're going to treat a regular customer. If they like just knowing what to do, like, all right, do I hover in this moment? Do I not hover in this moment? And that's a difficult thing for like people working in the store to figure out. I remember while I was working down in Disney World, we had training on how to interact with those that had individuals that had disabilities. And unfortunately, most of that information has now left my mind. That was a long time ago, but I do remember that the training was very intentional. Like you're focused on meeting the person's needs. You're not focused on the disability. You're not focused on like accommodating every possible thing. Like you're focused on the person. Like care about the person when you are in that situation, as you should care for anyone that is in front of you. And so, if everyone could have that same knowledge, I think that would be the one thing I would change. Sending it over to Mark again.
Thanks, bro. I guess I agree. I mean, there's what Zach said is really good. More programs would be better. I guess I was trying to think of something different because I didn't want to just take what's already been said. But I guess I'll throw out a proverb. The Proverbs in the Bible talk about how a poor man's brothers run away from him, and rich people have many friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friends. So, it says that that's just like something true in life, right? But then it also has Proverbs talking about he who closes his ear to the poor will be, himself not heard. And the Bible talks about like, if you lend to the poor, you lend to the Lord. So what I was thinking about that is, it's a true fact in life that there's going to be more unique struggles for somebody with disabilities, or like I was just using with the example of poor, or if you're a minority in a country or something, like there's going to be unique struggles. But that doesn't mean that people shouldn't still engage and treat the handicapped people just like they would someone else, just like it's already been said. It's cool the fact that I get to be your brother-in-law, Bub, because I get to know how it's like to just relate to you as one of my own brothers. I don't think of you as like a handicapped guy, and yet at the same time, it's part of who you are. So I also don't ignore it, but it's not what's first. What's first is you and who you are. So, all that to say, I didn't have a specific one for myself. I just think that what Jason and Rob said is dope, and I think on kind of what Zach was saying with the programs, like teaching on that would be great too. Like whether it be churches or just different programs teaching it, that kind of stuff. So
it's so hard to come up with something original when you're the last person. Yeah, I guess I'll just try to add my 2 cents. I think that's really cool. The idea, but maybe standardizing that. So in other words, somehow working that into either school curriculum, or that's just standard on the job training for many different jobs, that you get that training of. I like how you put it, Rob. That was really cool. Like think of the person in front of you. How can I help this person? Right. Cause I think that's something that you've highlighted over, again and again. And so maybe this will be a prompt for you, Caleb, that, either the over attentiveness is too much, the overcompensation, or there are people that just don't care at all. And really, I feel like, and again, I don't want to speak for you. I'm curious if this is how you feel. I wonder if there's like a happy medium when you have a disability, of like the right amount of accommodation, but not making it awkward, or not being overzealous. Tell us more about that.
It also has to do with a person's personality. So if it's like, I'm going to use you, Jason, because you have a different. It's not saying anything against you, but it depends on the person that's wanting to help that person. So if someone's handicapped and say Jason wants to help them with something, it depends to the handicapped person on the personality. Might throw them off, and it might freak them out at first, because a lot of handicapped people aren't to where I am, like where I have mostly just disability in my leg. Some of them have more brain damage issues, and it's harder for them to interact with people in general. So when it depends on what personality the person is dealing with, is how it really affects them more.
Yeah, that's a good reminder there. It's a good thought.
And there's another way to look at it too, is there might be people that are disabled by the legs or their body, but we all have a disability of some sort that we don't really show, or that we don't really know about until someone else has that ability that we don't have. Then we have a disability of some sort because we don't have the ability to do what they did. So we all have different disabilities compared to the other person. But there's disabilities that are more visible with handicapped people.
Okay. So this, Sean, you want to read this? Go ahead, Mark.
Let me throw out too. Yeah, you just reminded me too, Bub. Like some people have a harder time speaking. I think with like cerebral palsy, I think it is. It's not even brain damage. It's slow on how to try to get out the words. And sometimes when somebody is deeper into that kind of, like, it's more they're more affected by it or whatever. It can be really hard to understand, and so sometimes you do have to really try to listen, and maybe not like, I don't know how to say it, not be patronizing at all, but like actually really just try to, like's been said, focus on them and try to care in that way. And then, but then like there is like a with different people, it's different, because I feel like with you, Bub, like we can just, do our thing, because, I don't have to like struggle to understand what you're saying and everything like that. So it also really much depends on the person, as it would with any kind of relationship. It just depends on the specific person and the severity of disability.
All right, let's jump into this last question. Jason, what was one thing you saw in public that you didn't see when you were just walking around?
So I'm understanding that question to be like, what's one thing I noticed once in the wheelchair that I didn't notice when just without the wheelchair? Is that right, Haircut?
Yes, I said it the wrong way, but yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, no one. Man, so when I'm just cruising, walking around, doing my thing, I really have no thought to terrain and material of surfaces that I'm walking on. Generally, every surface, my shoes will do fine, and I can ignore it completely. Slight inclines, don't care. It's all good. Or even not so slight inclines. And so, like, the whole idea of thinking, okay, I want to go here. Wait a minute, that's a marble floor. Or like, I want to go here. There's curves, but with no access. Like the whole terrain idea. Or even the fun side of it, of like, all right, there's some sweet marble floors with a sweet incline. I'm gonna race down this place. But often like the difficult ones, I think. So just paying attention to terrain is totally foreign to me, and a whole other thing to add to your life if you have a disability.
The question is, what was one thing you saw when you were just walking around? I think I was a bit more conscious of if people live normally. And, sometimes if it's a girl, I think, oh, they're either staring because they like what they see, or think what I'm wearing stupid, or I'm just staring at me for no reason. Me, when I was in the wheelchair, I thought it was because I didn't really get out of any other headspace other than this is why they're looking at me. This is why people are, checking. Definitely, it absorbed sort of my thinking, I guess, when I was in the wheelchair, and what I would project on others.
Yeah, I definitely relate a lot to that as well, Zach. The biggest thing that stuck out was that the elevator wasn't working. Like if I'm walking around, I never would have noticed that. I never would have thought anything of it. But while we were in the chair, I was like, oh, let's try to go upstairs. Oh, we can't go upstairs. Okay. And I really wish like we made a stink, or we went somewhere. It was like, hey, we're trying to get to the second floor. I really wish we had done that in the moment, just because what would they have done then? I would have been curious to see what the mall or I don't even know where we would have gone to raise that concern, but it would have been interesting to see what would have happened. But yeah, so that's one thing, that the elevator was not working. I never would have noticed that at all.
All right, yeah. So for me, terrain was already taken. That's a big one, and feeling people's gaze. But so I'll throw in there time. I think time was a big one. Like what I mean by that is like if I go to the mall, I want to just try to be in and out, and I can't like walk fast paced through the mall or anything. It's got to be a big ordeal to have to go around. So it's not just convenient where I can just like have quick time. And like was mentioned earlier, I can't remember who said it, but like trying to get out and in. I didn't even think of that, but that's that's a whole nother thing with time. And so yeah, time, I'll say.
So I was waiting for the right question, Caleb, and I think this is the right one. to talk about the story where we had, remember that group of two guys that came up to us, and one of them very aggressively like was reaching, and I think he actually did grabbed my handlebars. Now, something that you were telling me when we went through this is that the wheelchair becomes kind of an extension of your person, right? If you're handicapped in that way and have to use a wheelchair. So like, even though I certainly haven't been in a wheelchair for any insurmountable amount of time to be able to like make that extension of, oh, this is like part of me. Don't touch me without my permission. But yeah, this guy, like, so we were trying to get up the curb, and it's a pretty steep curve to get up to the hobby store. And I'll admit, I was having a little trouble getting up the curb. But I wonder if you remember that, Caleb. I just remember this guy like reaching for my handlebars without really saying much of anything, to like try to, and I'm sure like the mindset there was like he was trying to be helpful and stuff, but like I still feel like that's almost like a violation of your bubble, right? As a handicapped person. Obviously this was pretend that what we did for the challenge. But even still, I felt that how that could be violating the personal sanctity or space. Tell us more about that. I'm curious.
Yeah, that is true. When you're in a wheelchair for a long time, it will more of your body when you're in a wheelchair. If you stay in it for too long, you'll get used to it as part of your body. And when someone grabs it from the back and starts doing something with it, it kind of creeps you out, and you want to know what's going on right away after the fact, because you can't always do anything about it. Sometimes it's somebody throwing it around, and you can't handle it being thrown around because you don't have the core strength to counteract us trying to push it around. So in your case, you were getting stuck, Sean, trying up the hill, or the little step, whatever it was, and
yeah, I was stuck.
Yeah, you were stuck. But I had that situation happen to me on vacation, and it was nothing to do with it. But I started getting pulled around by it, and I turned around and was ready to whack somebody in the back of the head because they were grabbing my wheelchair. Not out of anger, but out of reflex, because it's part of my body, and you were touching me, and I'm not sure what you were doing, so I'm just going to be ready to knock you out. So, yeah, once you get used to the wheelchair being part of you, you are more attentive of where people are around you. Attentive or aware of where it's around you. So it takes a little bit of time to do that, but yeah.
All right, boss. Do you have anything else you want to say, or does anyone have any questions for Caleb? As we've exhausted the 5 questions. Anyone else have a question?
Where did you get that really cool shirt? I'm still curious.
My sister. Why didn't that work? Okay, a second.
You muted.
Yeah, I fixed. My sister got it for me for Christmas.
Does it say Big Paw? I can't tell. It's kind of faded.
I don't know. I can't tell from upside down right now either. I think it's Big Paw.
Sometimes it's not important what's on the shirt.
Yeah.
Caleb's just like, man, I'm just doing fashion, Sean. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what it says. I'm just looking good over here.
Yeah, if you do have any questions for me, just start asking questions and I'll answer them.
What did you learn by doing the wheelchair challenge with guys like us? I'm not aware of any handicaps that anybody that you did the challenge with. So what's that been like, putting us, in your seat, putting us in your wheels for you as the kind of curator of this group?
Well, I've seen that it takes you guys a while to get used to the wheelchair to begin with, so you don't always get used to how to roll in it or how to hop curbs or anything. It takes a while to learn that, but for me, I noticed that it took you a while to just figure out how to roll forwards because you were not used to going in unison with your hands. You were going one or the other at first, but then you guys got used to it at the near the middle or the end of the challenge, you guys are used to it.
I want to throw that. I want to throw the fourth question to you, Haircut. What could you change? If you could change one thing for individuals who are handicapped, what would you change?
The accessibility to most buildings are not very easy to get to, so after a certain amount of years, if a place isn't modified for a handicapped person to get through, they should modify it. It should be a either recommendation or a law that if your building is not ready for a handicapped person to go through it after so many years, you should make it accessible to that person.
Caleb, if someone was maybe being in a wheelchair is new to someone, what would you say? Like, what encouragement would you give them?
I'm not sure. Other than it'll take a while, but you get used to it. It's not going to be that bad, but other than that, I'm not sure what I would give them.
Cool. Is there any particular Bible verse that is helpful for you as you in particular about disability and stuff like that?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Hey Sean, how many people are online? Can you see it?
So I actually wasn't able to find us the live stream. Were you able to find it?
I can go to the channel and check it really fast.
Yeah, do that. I was trying to find it and I was unsuccessful.
I work and serve people with different handicaps and disabilities as a result of their Parkinson's disease or mental disabilities, both. And one of my friends who's a doctor who works specifically with these patients, and especially with helping them cope with these different disabilities that affect them, he always would tell them, and he would tell me that two people can walk into his office, an optimist, and have the same conditions, but lead completely different lives. Pessimists would always have a worse life. Optimists would have a better life because of their attitude, but they would have the same exact condition. And he said how a lot of times when it comes to something like this, the mental attitude you approach it, how you used to cope, makes a world of difference in your recovery towards this and coming from this. So I thought that was interesting. Figured I'd share that.
Yeah,
Sure,
that's
that's
really
good thought.
but well, Zach. Thanks.
Jason, when you asked Caleb that question of are there any particular Bible verses that come to mind, was there one that came to mind for you?
No, not in particular. I was just wondering if there's one in particular that would be, just like God-given encouragement or something, some sort of I will not forsake you kind of thing. But I just wanted to hear what he would run to in terms of the Bible.
I mean, a couple concepts came to mind for me, but I don't know if they would have the right heart behind them, and maybe Caleb can help us to see if they'd be applicable. Maybe when Paul is talking about how, when he is weak, therefore he is strong. Maybe also when Paul is asking, beseeching the Lord, would you take away my thorn? I wonder, Caleb, if you think of your disability when you hear scripture that portion of scripture that talks about, Paul asking the Lord, if you would take away my thorn, please. But also, Paul talks about, I mean, we don't actually know what that particular thorn is, right, from scripture, but so that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of neat that it's not mentioned what the thorn is, because I feel like it's almost more relatable. I know for our mutual friend to a lot of us here, Steve Peck, he does think of his back disability for that particular scripture. So those are just two. I know I didn't give exact citations where those are, but at least I gave you guys the author. Hint, by the way, if you're curious, a lot of the time, if you're citing something from the New Testament, you can just tell people it's Paul. It's super easy. Just kidding.
That's shortcut. Yeah, you're in 2 Corinthians 12. But for both of those, actually.
How convenient. So 2 Corinthians verse 12 is just
chapter.
Chapter 12 is all about thorns, right? All about us when we are weak. Therefore, Christ is strong in us, right, Jason?
Yeah, man. I think that's such an insightful. Yeah. So talking about thorn is flesh, and he prays that God would take it away 3 times, and then God says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." So then Paul's like, "Therefore I will boast in my weakness and insults and hardships, all that kind of stuff. Because when I'm weak, then I'm strong." And so I think, praise God that he makes our weaknesses into strength as they cause us to lean upon him.
Did those hit the right way, Caleb? Oh, I'm sorry, just interrupted you. I was just curious.
Oh, sorry, Sean.
Those passages that Jason helped me to bring to mind, did those touch on maybe some of how you feel about being a handicapped person?
Yes, but I also look at it as he's using this disability to also make me grow in him and having a way to show God's mercy to other people, saying, "Oh, I'm a disabled person, but he's using me for another reason than what you would think of." So, yeah. You were saying something, Mark?
Yeah, I got one for you. This one, hopefully this isn't like too hard or personal or whatever, but like, since we're on the topic of verses, how do you deal with sometimes feeling angry toward God? And your testimony could be really good to hear in that. And no judgment if you do just say like, "Hey, I am mad with God a lot of times." But either way, it'd be beautiful to hear either one. But I also know, because like for me, a lot of times it's hard for me to get angry with God, because I know a lot of my troubles are because I'm sinful anyway, and like whatever. But there's, I know some people that have been severely sexually abused and things like that, and they struggle with that because external stuff happened to them. Well, it's the same way with you, like you didn't have any control over this. This just happened. So yeah, if you want to share that, that'd be great, bro.
Wait, what part do you want me to share? The whole testimony or what?
No, not like, what do you do with sorry, I rambled in that question a little bit, but what do you do with like anger toward God or feelings toward God? Like, do you sometimes get like, David in the Psalms, where it's like, "Why did you afflict me this way?" or whatever to the Lord?
I don't remember what I do to it. I don't remember I do that much, because I don't really have that much trouble with it as much as I used to. I mean, it's been a while since I've been mad at him for something of my disability. After a while, I realized, hey, I have this disability for a reason. God gave it to me for a special reason. I should be using it to my advantage and not be mad about it. So, I don't really remember what I do about that problem.
That's beautiful, bro. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's great question, Mark. Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and I think maybe that's some of what Mark was getting at was, you're such a light, you're such a, I mean, every time I come to church and I get to see you, Caleb, you're always just a very bright person. And so I wonder how, hopefully, you're looking to put this content out there in the interwebs somehow, either in podcast or YouTube land, right? And I think Jason was bringing this also up, is like what would you want to tell the handicap community? They don't even necessarily have to be fellow, wheelchair users, right? For you to affect them in a positive way. That whole notion of, okay, initially when I was afflicted with this affliction, right, this thorn, I was a little angry, and it's great that you admit that, because I feel like I think about myself. I think about my sinfulness, my flesh. Like I'm positive the kind of person I am. I'm sure at first I would wrestle with, like, let's say, God forbid, but let's say I get in a car crash and I am in a wheelchair, either permanently or temporarily. I think I would feel sorry for myself. And I think I could even become a little bit angry with God before he moved me to a place of, like the fact that you're saying I'm thankful just blows my mind. It's wonderful, man, that you said the words, I'm thankful, because I know he gave it to me for a reason, right, for a purpose. So could you dig into that a little more? I'd love for you to think about, like, if you had someone here, like, with us listening in, like, what would you want to tell them? How would you want to encourage them? Like, if they're in that stage that you were in, right, of that initial, like, learning that you're handicapped, being even angry with God, or maybe in a place where, let's say we're talking to someone who doesn't even believe in God, or doesn't think there is a God, and just, like, mad at the world, right? So that anger, how did you channel that frustration? And do you think there's an advantage for you being perhaps Christian? Sorry, was that a big? I rambled too. Did I just pull
I don't
Mark?
have a good question. I don't have a good answer for that question at the moment. I might later on, but I don't have it at the moment. I mean, one
Okay.
thing is, you gotta look at it as a new chapter. So if you have a disability, you gotta look at it as a new chapter in your life. You can't just, what a lot of people do that are disabled, when they get in a car accident or whatever, they'll mope around and be like, "Oh, this is horrible," and I want to suicide. But you gotta look at it as a new chapter to try new things, because right now, what would be easy for you guys to do would be getting your license. Well, for me, it's really hard. It takes 2 weeks or 2 years to get my license from it. So you just have to do things much harder and a much more challenging way than anyone else would have to. So you have to figure out in your life what you want to do with since you have this disability. What do you want really to do, and is there ways for me to do it easier? And you have to look at resources that the states and other things have already given out for your disability. So you gotta look at it as a new chapter in your life.
I've heard something similar. When you say that, Caleb, something that comes to mind is something that my dad, he's a doctor, and he used to tell me that, like, people that go through life changes like that, you almost have to, what is the phrase he used? He said, you almost have to mourn your old self. You almost have to mourn the previous body. Several friends of mine come to mind. You actually come to mind as well, Caleb, I imagine. I wonder if that was some of that transition between, like, moving from anger to almost like a heart of thankfulness, perhaps, was like you properly mourned your previous self. Tell us about that.
I don't say I mourned it. I got over it. There was a point in my life where I was like, all right, I gotta be able to do something with this. I can't just be sitting around here being depressed all the time about it. I just moved on. But another thing you gotta notice is, for a Christian, you got eternal life to live afterwards. In your new body, you'll be able to walk around and do whatever else was doing, or whatever you can do in heaven. You'll be able to do what you couldn't do on earth. So you gotta look at it as a Christian, you got this opportunity coming beyond the earth that you can do all these other things. So if you're disabled in being on the earth, you won't be disabled in heaven.
Yeah. On that note, Caleb, I bet in a new heavens and new earth, you'll probably be able to shut me down in football big time.
He responds just like, you know it, Mark. All right, guys. Do we have any more questions for Caleb? Or Caleb, do you have anything else you want to say?
Not that I want to say it. So if you guys have any more, say yeah. Go ahead.
Let's get one more question in. Let's ponder and get another question in.
What is could you name off, because I imagine like the people that are going to consume this content, Caleb, either know someone who's handicapped or perhaps handicapped themselves. What is one universal resource? What is a resource, or like a podcast or just a something that you've found that has been fruitful for you as someone who's handicapped? Just something that you could drop for other people to check out. You think that would be fruitful?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
My last question was a dud.
Well, you can.
I have one more.
Yes, please, Zach.
Caleb, I'm curious. Throughout this whole experience, the biggest way God used this to grow you, or have you really grown from this experience? What's sort of been like the one, you can call it a positive, but a positive from this? Some tough experiences in my life. As much as I wish it didn't happen, I'm thankful for how they've made me into who I am today. So, come from this that you.
One thing is that there's a lot of people that don't understand how to use a wheelchair and what to do with handicapped people. This is what I learned a lot from a lot of different people, not even my podcast, but just watching people handle other handicapped people. My uncle is a handicapped person, and he goes to a place that they handle a lot of handicapped people, and ordinary people wouldn't know what to do with them. I mean, since I've done this and my uncle is handicapped, I've noticed that a lot of people don't know what to do with handicapped people. That's the one thing I noticed a lot, was most people don't know what to do. And I've tried this on dating apps. I was on a dating app for a while, and I tried it, and people didn't know what to do, and I said I was a handicapped guy.
Responses did you get on the dating apps from the people when you told them?
Oh, they cussed me out.
What?
What?
That's crazy.
More in shock than anything. They were cussing me out, but yeah, in shock they were doing it. They weren't like mad at me, but they were more in shock.
Huh, there isn't like a normal just way to put that on there. Like I feel like that should. I don't know. Like if there's no hey check like description thing, that would be helpful for that.
Well, Jason, earlier we were talking about how there are accessibility issues. So, I mean, most dating apps, they're not wheelchair accessible, and they really need to fix that. Sorry, I was trying to bring a little humor to it, but that is messed up. I wonder if, Caleb, you're going to be the mastermind behind creating the next big handicap-friendly dating platform.
That's a really good idea.
I don't think so. I don't think I'll go on dating apps anymore. I tried it twice and it didn't work out. So,
did you specifically try any Christian dating apps?
Yeah, one was,
Caleb.
One I want to retry is Upward, but there was a couple of them I tried that they didn't have good reviews, even when they were Christian apps. They weren't really good reviews for the app.
Gotcha.
Haircut's gonna make the next farmers only thing. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a pioneer. Make millions.
I'm not gonna get on dating apps anymore. I think I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way.
Cool. All right, well, good stuff.
All right.
Well, guys, so Haircut, you think maybe we're gonna wrap this guy up?
Yeah. Yep, we can wrap this up. Thank you for listening to Life Beyond Wheels podcast.